Hello. No, that's not it.
Hello. Oh, shit.
All right. Hi. Welcome to Kyle's Phenomenological Method. On this channel, I try to explain seemingly complex ideas in a way that the average Joe can understand them. I present my own ideas usually, but I encourage the audience to engage the ideas and create their own conclusions from it. So to start, we'll get into the phenomenological method a little bit. So phenomenology attempts to create conditions for objective study of topics typically regarded as subjective, seeks to determine the essential properties and structures of experience through systematic reflection. This is a picture of Husserl. He is the creator of phenomenology. So phenomenology can be best explained with this picture. Let's just go ahead and jump right in. So we're into the poem and quote analysis part of this today. And today I chose a lot of poems because I feel like I've been doing a lot of quotes lately. So this poem is by Robert Frost and it's called The Lockless Door. It went many years, but at last came a knock. And I thought of the door with no lock to lock. I blew out the light, I tiptoed the floor and raised both hands in prayer to the door. But the knock came again, my window was wide. I climbed on the sill and descended outside. Back over the sill, I bade it come in to whoever the knock at the door may have been. So at a knock, I emptied my cage to hide in the world and alter with age. What do you think Robert Frost is trying to tell us here?
Let me reread it real quick. That's a knock. All right, so there hadn't been a knock for a while. Then it came, right? And he thought of the door with no lock to lock. So he didn't know that. Is he saying like he didn't have a lock? Like he thought that the door had no lock?
Yeah.
Okay, so he blew out the light and tiptoed the floor, raised both hands in prayer to the door.
So maybe it's like a metaphorical door. Maybe it's like a conception of the afterlife.
Uh-huh.
I can see that. Maybe that's what he's trying to get at. Because I don't understand why you would raise prayer to like your front door.
Well, I think he's coming at, how you're talking about perception, right?
Yeah.
I think that he might be trying to say, I don't know. It's interesting because I think his perception of the door that it was with no lock to lock, and I also think that somebody knocking was a surprise to him as well.
Yeah.
He didn't think that would ever happen. That was his perception. So he left the house. Back over the sill. I bade it come in to whoever the knock at the door may have been.
So it could be that he had received a knock in previous years, but there had been no knock for many years.
Right.
Or else why would that first part be there? So if there's already been knocks, you would expect another knock to come.
And then, so at a knock, I emptied my cage to hide in the world and alter with age. I hide in my cage, which is I hide in the world and alter with age. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, emptied my cage. Is this cage his house?
I don't know, because it could be like the police are knocking on his door and he's got to like dump all of his weed or some shit, So he emptied the cage into the world. But I don't know what altering with age has to do with that.
Yeah. The Lockless Door is the title. He was So maybe he was scared of what was on the other side of the door. Because the door's got no lock. So he's not protected.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think that could be what he was trying to say. Because at the end, he said to hide in the world and alter with age. You know, the door hadn't been knocked on in a while. He was hiding from the world. But now that he knows that the door has no lock and that somebody's knocking, he's scared.
It could be kind of like maybe like, you know how some parents kind of are abandoning their child for the first part of their life, and then eventually that child comes around and like is like answering or trying to talk and communicate with them.
Yeah.
So maybe that could be like the knock at the door, and then
Right.
he's altering with age because as time goes on, the kid gets older, and then the kid's able to kind of explain himself to himself, the person a little better.
Right. Huh.
That's honestly what I'm getting from this. Like,
Yeah. Access. I don't know. Lockless door. I feel like the lockless door is a metaphor for something else, you know?
yeah, it's definitely not about a door.
No. Interesting. I'll have to think on it more.
Well, if you come up with anything, we can bring it up later. So let's just move on to the next poem by Edwina Matthews called Power. To some, power is guns. To some, power is knives. To some, power is the ability to read and write. To some, power is control. To some, power is a fist. To some, like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., power was words. To some, power is like a trapped animal trying to get out. To some, power is love. To some, power is art. To some, power is money. To me, power is knowledge. So what is power to you? What is power to you?
I would say freedom.
Yeah, I would say something like flexibility, like the ability to choose, like not being forced to do one thing, but you have the ability to like make your own decisions.
Yeah. I think, you know, a lot of like, so like in that sense, I would say power is freedom because you have to have the freedom, or you don't have to, but it's nice to have the freedom to choose what you want to do. And having freedom also. So, for example, rich people are more free than poor people
Yeah,
because they can go places they want. You know what I'm saying? They
yeah.
can do what they want. They can invest in what they want. They can buy what they want. You know, I think that's power.
So you would be like under the some money is power kind of deal. Because I can definitely see like in the world we live in that like money definitely is a powerful thing.
I think ultimately freedom is, but money in our world buys freedom.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Creates a freedom. So then, therefore, it's like a money equals freedom equals power. I definitely agree with that.
so kind of just to stimulate a little thought here. What do you think of in that context, money being the root of all evil?
Um,
Could you be say like could you like kind of change that? Because if money is like power, would you be able to say that power is the root of all evil?
oh, I think that's a fair statement because you know why is things like world domination? You know,
Mostly for power,
you know
or
what I'm saying?
like money, or like at least when I think of world domination, I kind of think U.S. related. So like, and most of our conflicts are about like oil and shit.
Yeah,
So I just think that's really like it's about money, but the reason it's about money is because that money gives power to
yeah,
whoever's like getting the most of it.
I agree. I definitely agree.
So another question I got: what do you think about power being guns? I feel like the power there is more of like the power to kind of eliminate things other than like the power to create, because you can't really create anything with a gun, but you could create something with money.
Well, I'll go back to a statement I've heard you say multiple times, jokingly, of course. But like, you can't do that. You'd be like, I can if I have a gun.
You can though.
Right.
If you got a gun, you can do what the fuck you want.
That is power. So what? So what is power?
Uh,
Power is knowledge because, and here's why. I think, you know, knowing that power is whatever you contrive.
yeah, we just fuck it. I can't think of the word right now. Define it as.
Right, whatever you define it as, and then knowing how to use it. So, for example, to some power is guns. Knowing that is power.
Yeah,
And
I get what you mean.
you know what I'm saying?
Because you could think money is money, and they could think money is guns, and you could flash a bunch of money around them and think you're in charge. But once you pull those guns out, it's not really gonna matter what you think.
Exactly. Exactly. And like knowing knowledge is power because you got to know how to move with people, move with circumstances. You got to know knowledge. Knowledge is power, and power is knowledge, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I
They're
can see that.
reciprocal. You know what I'm saying?
So would it be fair to say, because we were just saying that money is power, would it be able to say that knowledge is money? Well, oh,
Absolutely.
like valuable at least. Knowledge is at least valuable.
Yes. And it is money too in our world, even not necessarily college. I don't think I'm not even talking about college though. It's not like you go to school and you're going to be rich for sure. That's not even it. I don't think school teaches knowledge. It teaches facts. You know,
Yeah.
I don't think facts are knowledge either. Like, I think knowledge is the ability to look at a situation and know what to do. You know what I'm saying? Maneuver through the obstacles.
So that kind of made me think of this thing. So I had to run groups in my job sometimes at the in the mental health clinic, and I did a group recently that was about like kind of how people learn things, and I learned that there's like two types of learning. So there's procedural learning and descriptive learning. So like descriptive learning is kind of how would I explain it? I can tell you like how nice it is to give the charity and everything, and like I can
Yeah.
explain the benefits, but like you don't get a procedure from that. You don't really know what's going on until you actually do it, and the doing is procedural learning.
Yeah.
So kind of how that applies to here is like you can have all the descriptive learning you want, but like unless you can transmit that into procedural learning, it's just words.
I
So
think
that's how knowledge can be powered.
I'll say like, so when I was in school, I never really like, I'm about to turn on my brightness. I didn't really learn any like, I knew how to learn facts, whatever, but the only place I really learned was in the labs where you're hands on actually doing things, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
that procedural learning.
that's why I think apprenticeships are so much more valuable than going to college, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely for certain like jobs.
Yeah. And there's just like you can learn what to do, but doing it is completely different. There's different connections in your brain that need to be made, you know, like the
Yeah.
pattern of procedure, like you said, it's procedural. So that's interesting. I didn't know that those were like the two main categories.
Yeah, and I'd go as far as to like label them left and right brained. I don't like off the top of my head remember which one is which. I believe that right brain is more procedural and then left brain is more descriptive. I think those are actually switched. I think left brain is more procedural and then right brain is more descriptive. But And then some people are more dominant on the other side. You know what I mean? On one side.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
you have any more comments on this poem?
Mm-mm.
I thought we had a pretty good discussion on that one.
Yeah.
All right, this next one is called The Lesson by Maya Angelou. I keep on dying again. Veins collapse, opening like the small fist of sleeping children. Memory of old tombs, rotting flesh, and worms do not convince me against the challenge. The years in cold defeat live deep in, or live deep in. The challenge, the years in cold defeat live deep in lines along my face. They dull my eyes, yet I keep on dying because I love to live. Um, I kind of my like initial thoughts on this one or really deal with the last two lines. I think that's what they're trying to get at in the whole thing is like I keep on dying because I love to live. Like you can't. It's kind of what I was talking about with the dialectic in one of my previous episodes. Like, in order to be like to have a being, you have to at the same time be nothing, because nothing
Yeah.
like so like you're dying as you're living. Like you're always losing something, even when you're gaining something.
Yeah. So I think that no, life is all about, life is struggle. Okay.
Yeah,
So like what I mean by that is hardship is what defines life. You know,
yeah,
coming back on obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. You'll never have an obstacle-less not life. You know what I'm saying? You'll never not face adversity in life. And so I think that's kind of a testing of that is that I kind of learned something the other day. I kept looking for signs that thing, like I was on the right path, right?
yeah,
And I was looking for things that were like perfect, like perfect things. Like, for example, I fill up sauce cups at work, right? And if I accidentally grabbed the right amount of sauce cups, I was like, it made me feel good,
yeah,
but it's very rare, right? And then I kind of had a realization like, maybe I should look for imperfections. They're more common. It'll be a better mindset. You know what I'm saying? It'll be
yeah,
a reminder rather than like once a week type thing. And that's the way, like, I think that if things are going wrong and you're facing hardships in life, you're on the right path. That's me personally.
yeah. I can see where you can come from with that.
And especially with social media now, it's like, oh, I see them doing good, them doing good, them doing good. Why am I facing it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Facing the hardships. But when reality, they're facing them. She, he, everybody's facing them. And no
yeah.
one's posting their failures like that, Just something to,
Something I like to tell people at my job is like it might, and it's honestly kind of not the best thing to say now that I kind of think about it, but it's like you might be going through like some shit right now, but like you're not the only person on earth going through it. Like we're all in this together, and at the end of the day, you think that oh my life's perfect or anyone else's life's perfect. We all have challenges that even I don't know about. You know what I mean? Like I face challenges I don't even really realize that I'm facing at the moment because I'm not as educated as I could be.
right.
So like everyone's kind of going through and everyone's just trying to make their way. So
I agree.
yeah,
Yeah. No life is perfect,
yeah. As much as we like to believe so.
but an imperfect life is perfect. Exactly what you need.
Yeah. What
You
you
know,
need is way better than what you want.
right. Absolutely. And I think so back to this poem, I think, shit's gonna go wrong. Everything. You're gonna look back at your past. You're gonna look back at, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Think ahead to the future and worry about that. But in reality, it's all meant to happen. And you're gonna go through the struggles for a reason.
I usually like say that any struggle I go through is just a lesson that I'm not realized yet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the philosophy I kind of go through life in when I'm experiencing difficulty is that like I just haven't learned what I need to learn yet to make this as easy as it could be.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Or like you'll look back and be like, oh, if I would have done that, I would have avoided that struggle, that adversity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Learn precursors to how to avoid other shit that maybe threw you off at the time.
And I think like a big part of that is like kind of sharing what you've learned with the community so that other people don't make the same mistakes.
Right. I agree. But also, I'm a big proponent of you have to make those mistakes yourself, or it's not going to be. I think it's a small population, small percentage of people that learn from other people's mistakes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think you have to just learn for yourself.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
I would be hard pressed to find an argument against that.
Yeah.
But so do you have anything else on this poem?
Mm-mm.
All right, I thought that was pretty good discussion too. I feel like the poems is like one of the better ones. But so on to today's topic, motivation crowding theory. All right. So what is motivation crowding theory? I have to go to my notes for this. What was that? So motivation crowding theory is a theory from psychology and microeconomics that suggests that providing extrinsic incentives for certain kinds of behavior, such as promising monetary rewards for accomplishing some task, can sometimes undermine intrinsic motivation for performing that behavior. The result of lowered motivation, in contrast with the predictions of neoclass economics, which is pretty much kind of supply and demand, can be an overall decrease in the total performance. So I kind of want to explain that a little better because I feel like that was pretty wordy. So what I take motivation crowding theory to be is that like sometimes when you provide like external rewards like money for certain actions, you can get an adverse effect where they do the things worse or don't perform as well as you would have expected if they hadn't had that incentive.
So it's like I give you 50 bucks for each A plus you have, right?
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's not feasible next time, and you know that. Are you going to try as hard?
Nope.
That's a good way to, you know what I'm saying? Like, for example.
Yeah, there was a really good example of like volunteer firefighters versus ones that are paid for like how willing they'd be to like stay extra hours or like how willing they'd be to like do extra shifts. Like,
Yeah.
and it was always the ones who were intrinsically motivated who would do the extra stuff because once you're paid for like a set standard of behavior, you're not gonna do extra and not get paid more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But typical study of crowding out. Ask subjects to complete. We don't need to read that. So, according to research on operant conditioning and behaviorism, extrinsic rewards should increase the chances of the rewarded behavior occurring, with the greatest effect on behavior if the reward is given immediately after. And these studies, often removing the reward quickly, led to a return to the pre-reward baseline frequency of the behavior. However, if you like, this isn't in the notes, but I know just from like other notes I've read, if you take that reward away, they may be worse off than like what they were before. So
Like,
let's say,
regress.
yeah, they may get a lot worse just because you were giving them something and then you took it away.
Yeah.
So I have a slide for the dependent measures, kind of. So for the independent variables of motivation crowding theory, like what they use kind of measure the differences. The first is non-task contingent rewards, other often called show-up fees. So they offer subjects independent of task performance or completion, simply as compensation for their time. These rewards, however, are not expected to displace intrinsic motivation. So the second is task contingent rewards, or like based on like quality or quantity of the task that you're asked to perform. So like if you're asked to make 100 eggs and you make 30, like you wouldn't get the full amount of payment.
Yeah.
Crowding out is thought to be most significant in this case. And then finally, performance contingent rewards and incentives for achieving certain outcomes are thought to create comparatively little crowding out because they serve as a signal of status and achievement rather than like motivation. So what I get from that is like kind of like with the A, like if you pass, let's say
That's what I was thinking.
the second one is like if you pass the class, then you'll get paid. But like the third one is like if you get a 4.0, like prestigious kind of deal.
Yeah. That's
Sorry, what were you saying?
It was interesting because that my example later became the one that has little crowding out.
Yeah, it's actually kind of crazy, like when you get into the nitty gritty of this, because it's like you would automatically think like if I offer you $50 to do something, you'd be more likely to do it. But like crowding out says that's not the case.
Right.
So for dependent variables, crowding out is typically measured in two ways. First, crowding out is measured as self-reported interest in the activity after the incentive has been provided. Second, crowding out can be measured by engagement in the activity while subjects believe the experiment has ended and after full compensation has been provided. So like once you've already paid them, like, are you still wanting to do more?
Right.
Some studies use both measures, but in some cases, crowding out has been found to directly affect effort and performance on the target behavior itself, even while compensated for the performance. So like even when you like pay them still, their performance can still kind of fluctuate depending on like the payment. And this kind of gets me into the next section pretty well. For instance, people paying a token amount of money to rate people who are paid a token amount of money to raise money for charity has been shown to wind up having people like collect less money for that charity than those who weren't paid at all. There's I don't want your stinking money, like like especially that's how I was in middle school when we had like that data shit, because it's like if I'm gonna sell something, why would I give you all the money? Like that,
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense. But to get into the next section, it should be kind of theories for why this happens. So there's motivational theories, which are sometimes referred to as cognitive evaluation theory. So like the post-behavioral significance people assign to the reward determines subsequent motivation. So like if you offer someone 10 cookies to move a 10-pound boulder, then like $10 kind of they're saying that like it depends on like what you're offering. It'll determine the motivation that it will be able to create.
Yeah.
And they call that cognitive evaluation theory. I think that's kind of what you were saying with like the A's, because if you're offered, I think that would actually be a really good example for like if you get A's, because if you're offered $40 for every A instead of $40,000, you'd be a lot more motivated to get an A in the
Yeah.
40,000.
Definitely.
The next one is an attributional theory. The application of self-perception theory to motivation suggests that people sometimes form post-behavior judgments about the causes of their actions by considering the external circumstances of their decisions. So while intrinsic motivation for doing the activity might be a cause, the presence of an extrinsic reward could also be sufficient for explaining a behavior. The overjustification account of motivational crowding, most prominently advanced by Lepper et al., argues that people recognize the presence of a significant and extrinsic incentive. People recognize the presence of a significant extrinsic incentive, attribute their motivation for doing the rewarded activity to the reward itself, and consequently lower their feelings of intrinsic motivation towards the activity. Huh. So what they're saying here is like, if people are offered an incentive to do something, then they'll want to do it for the incentive instead of doing it for the intrinsic motivation of doing it by just because they want to.
Right.
So that kind of goes with the A's as well, where it's like I wouldn't want an A just for myself. I'd only want the A for the money.
Yeah. Huh.
There's also, I think this would be a decent time to go to the graphs. This is kind of a hard graph. This is kind of, I like this one because it kind of explains kind of what I'm trying to talk about here. So at the beginning, you're at the blue line, but once you offer an extrinsic incentive, you go to the red line where you aren't working as hard because you're not intrinsically motivated to. So you start at the
Yep.
baseline, and then you don't do as much or get as far because you're working from the baseline instead of working from being intrinsically motivated.
Yep.
Which is honestly, you would think it would be the exact opposite. You would think you would start at the red and go to the blue with an incentive, but in reality, you go from the blue to the red.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to interpret this. Hold on. So the first one is at where the red and the blue dotted line meets, right?
So just tell me where I'm right here.
Yeah, right there. So then, right, that would be the first one.
Yeah,
But
this
then
is the first graph. This is where you start at.
that's pre-incentive. So then you incentivize,
So then you move down to the red line,
right, and
and
then
then
their
at that same,
effort is lower.
yeah,
Okay, so you'd put less effort in.
yep.
Okay, interesting.
I kind of like how these lines kind of explain it a little better too. So like, let's say your extrinsic incentive is at like a 3 here. So at a 3 with your own intrinsic motivation, you would be right here. But a 3 with only extrinsic motivation, you're right here.
Right.
So it's kind of based in like your performance level and like how hard you try to do something.
Right. It's interesting because it says supply curve.
Yeah,
And
this is like an economic.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's, in my economics class, this is exactly what it looked like too.
Yeah, and the source is from Frey and Jagan in 2001. So your book probably had this picture in it.
Yeah.
I
Interesting.
never took an economics class.
Because like as supply went up, demand went down.
So this would be like supply right here on the going up.
I think it'd be on the bottom on this
Oh
particular
yeah. Okay.
because then the demand to work would go down. Yeah, I think that's how it'd be.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. Or maybe the supply over here. I don't know.
Either way, it all makes sense. But I think this is another good graph for this. So like this is like the amount you get paid, but this is the amount of hours worked. So even it's kind of explains it in a different way where it's like you start here,
Yeah.
you go up, and then at a certain point, like
Yeah.
the amount of hours worked doesn't increase the amount of wage you get. In fact, the least amount, like once you get to this point, once you get to F, the more hours you work probably doesn't help you at all because it seems like the less hours you work, the more payment you get.
Right. Oh.
So, I don't know if this is the best graph, but see, I'll try to draw one that's intrinsically or extrinsically motivated. Line, I need a scribble. Let's say right here, this would be the extrinsically motivated. I need to actually just go ahead and delete that. So you'd probably start from like right here, and then you wouldn't get up as high, I would assume.
Well, so this is externally motivated already.
Yeah, because
So
of the wage.
what intrinsically motivated would be a straight line.
Oh yeah, because then you'd want to work regardless of how much you're getting paid.
Exactly.
So would it be like horizontal line then?
No, it would be diagonal, because the more you're paid, if it's intrinsic, well, I don't know.
Because you would think like, or at least what I was thinking was like it would be horizontal because it doesn't matter how much you're getting paid. It just matters how much you want to work.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because, well, the extrinsic motivation is the rise in the wage rate.
Yeah.
So then there can't be a rise in the wage rate. It has to just be a straight across line.
Yeah. So that would be probably right here.
So yeah, it would look like that.
Kind of like that. But
Yeah, a little straighter, but
all right. Another decent graph I had is on slide 13. This is combining standard economic model and crowding out effects of intrinsic motivation. So the standard economic model cannot predict effort or correctly in this portion of the graph, but over here it can. And that's where incentive is low, but as incentive increases, it's harder for people to correctly predict the amount of effort you're willing to put in.
interesting. So it's like, yeah, I expect less out of a guy making minimum wage that I'm paying minimum wage as a boss, right?
Yeah.
I less out of him, but I expect more out of a guy I'm paying more, and I still might not get it.
I think that's what they're trying to get at here.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, it makes sense.
This one's from 2007.
Okay.
But I'll save that final one for later, kind of as a little wrap up.
Okay.
So we just did attribution theories. Now we're in behavior theory. Various attempts have been made by behaviorists to explain the apparent phenomenon of crowding out in terms of reward conditioning. Behaviors are typically thought to be intrinsically motivated. These theories argue, behaviors that are typically thought to be intrinsically motivated, these theories argue, are actually motivated by social praise they tend to engender. Dickinson argues that part of the reason why these behaviors are socially praised is precisely because they are not connected with any particular reinforcers. When a person helps someone, he argues, when a person helps someone else, he argues, he receives praise in part because there does not seem to be any specific private incentive for doing the helping. Thus, the introduction of a specific reinforcer, such as an extrinsic reward, lowers public praise. That's interesting as fuck.
Well, it is. So what I picture is all of the people on Instagram that are going around videotaping, giving food to homeless people.
Yeah.
That's what's on my mind right now. So what it's saying is
they only did it for the money.
Specific reinforcers such as extrinsic reward lowers the public's praise. So basically, why first you have to get into why they're videotaping.
Yeah.
Probably for the public praise. That's the extrinsic motivation. You know.
And that's why people don't like respect it as much.
Exactly. So then it lowers the public praise that they wanted in the first place.
And then it makes people less likely to do it as well.
Exactly.
Isn't that fucking nuts?
Wow.
That's why I fucking love doing this shit, bro. Because like you really get into some interesting ass shit.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about psychology is that you can relate it to everything, any part of the world. Like I know I bring up sports and rapping and social media and stuff like that, but that's what my life is, you know. So it's like how you're a dad, that you could relate these things to being a dad too, you know.
Absolutely could. So
like how you're raising your kid and how you're motivating your kid extrinsically, you know.
So like that's what I'm gonna have to watch out for now that I know.
Yeah.
And that's like how knowledge can be considered money or power, because like without knowing this, I could be giving him like extrinsic motivations for shit he should be intrinsically motivated to do, and then making it less likely that he does it.
And I think that might be a big problem in our society is the extrinsic motivation, because parents nowadays, we can admit that most of our generation is entitled, right?
Yeah.
So therefore we can look at it like, all right, were they getting extrinsically motivated by, their parents' praise or rewards from their parents, or even just love from their parents? Their parents only showed love when they were doing things right, So
Yeah.
now when they're older and they're not getting that, they're like, well, what the fuck is going on? I'm supposed to be getting this love and appreciation, and it's not happening.
So then they don't do the behaviors that they should be doing because they're not getting the rewards they expect, even though they shouldn't expect it.
They're not getting paid for it through whatever means of value.
That's fucking crazy.
Isn't it, bro? I think that's what happens when you baby your kids. I really believe that.
I'm fucking glad I had this talk today. I'm so happy. There's like, I haven't been able to like really relate everything together like that before.
Yeah.
But so for economic utility theories, or do you have anything else for behavioral theories?
Let's see. If the loss of praise is larger than the size of the specific reinforcer, she argues, the free choice selection of the behavior will decrease. Period crowding out of instrument can be.
So he's saying,
Yeah. It's like, I think we hit it on the head with the parenting. I really do. I think we hit it right on the head.
I think so too. Like that's why I was so like, I was getting goosebumps. I was like, dude, we're fucking right.
I think we nailed it right on the head.
Oh fuck. Well, this one's probably gonna get pretty much a lot of praise. But then, am I doing it for the praise or am I doing it for the right?
Oh God, here we go. Never-ending cycle. And that's what it is. It's a never-ending cycle, especially if you don't see it as that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. If you don't like recognize what it is, then you think that you're doing everything based off your own intrinsic, but it's not.
It's just gonna repeat. I'm glad we had this talk too.
Yeah, man. I like still got goosebumps because that shit is like, that's some real truth there. Like there's some real truth value to that.
I agree.
So economic utility theories. Some have argued that certain utility functions can be modeled to explain crowding out. I think that's what that last graph I had was. Benabou and Trial, for example, have theoretically established that crowding out can reliably occur if an agent's utility function for some behavior is composed of three things: intrinsic motivation, extrinsic motivation, and image signaling concerns.
Do you know what image signaling concerns are?
I hope that's what they're going to explain here.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay.
In a context of uncertainty or information asymmetry, rewards can signal important information to the actor. Oh, so like if you go to jail and you see someone like stab someone, but then they get like treated like a king for the next week, you're gonna think that you should be stabbing people.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they mean by like image signaling, is like once you see somebody like get praise or like receive a reward for doing a behavior, you'll be more likely to do that behavior. For the what we were talking about earlier with rewards. Rewards.
Okay. So for example, in my life, I see rappers doing lean and smoking weed and all, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
Zans all the time. It's like, they're famous, they're successful. Is that what I should be doing? Should I be rapping about bitches and money and drugs and guns? Like,
yeah,
that's what sells right now. You know,
that's the thing, is like what they're doing it for. Are they doing it because that's what they want to do, or because that's what sells? And that's what you're worried about,
right? Because with art you have to sell, but also, and I think that has to do with selling your soul a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now whether you go up to the fucking hill and put candles out and draw it out, regardless, if you're not who you are true inside, you're selling your soul.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be banging or doing drugs and you're doing it because it's what sells, you're selling your soul. I really believe that.
I believe it too.
You know,
'Cause you're not even living like an authentic life. You're just doing it for money.
exactly.
And that's where motivation crowding comes in, where it's like you won't keep doing it if the intrinsic motivation or the motivation, like, or what am I trying to say? Not the motivation, but if the reward leaves, like, I bet a bunch of people would stop rapping about that shit.
Yep, exactly. But it's
Uh,
right now.
so
And
that's
it's,
pretty much image signaling.
yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. It's a simple concept. You see something, it tells you that this is the reward you get for acting that way.
Yeah. Or punishment, on the other hand.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think this would be a good time to go to that last slide and wrap things up. Did pretty good. I think the time's pretty good here too. So the effects of motivational incentives on effort. So I think this could be seen as the three topics I had before. This could be intrinsic motivation. I need to make copies of this. Oh shit, that is not what I meant to do.
Whoa.
Okay, there we go. Control C, Control V. All right, there we go. So this is extrinsic.
Okay.
This is, change the color here. INSIC, intrinsic. And then this would be the constructive feedback would be the image signaling.
Yep. Okay.
Let me go ahead and copy this.
My computer might make a loud noise. Hold on. There we go. I had to adjust. There we go.
All right. So, well, I guess intrinsic and extrinsic motivations right here, but that's at least what I would say for.
All right.
But these fuck.
All right. So let's start at decision making, goals setting, right? And constructive feedback. Those are the three.
And these things all combine to your either self-determination or self-esteem.
Okay. Or both.
Yeah. And then performance contingent rewards would increase your extrinsic motivation, but it would also depend on, well, I guess this would also send towards your intrinsic motivation as well.
All right.
Like your self-determination.
I'm trying to understand this. Are those arrows going back into self-esteem and self-determination as well?
These arrows right here?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think these arrows go, these ones, here, let me see if I can find a better.
So your intrinsic motivation and your extrinsic motivation both go back to self-esteem and self-determination?
Yes.
Interesting.
And then these go back down to your intrinsic motivation.
Okay.
The only ones that are like not part of that loop are decision making, goal setting, and constructive feedback.
Okay. So the motivational, all right, let's go from self-determination and self-esteem. Say it's high.
Yeah.
Both of those are high. It goes to motivational crowding out, right?
Well, I don't think it would unless there's performance contingent rewards. I think if
Right.
these are both high, then it would just go straight to intrinsic.
Okay. That's actually true, yeah. But say it's high and then somebody gives you an extrinsic reward. Sorry, I'm so close.
Oh, you're good. So if that does, then it does have a motivation crowding out effect, and it might have adverse
effects. Okay. Interesting.
But it all leads to how much work you'd be willing to put in.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. That's interesting. I like this. I like this. I'm probably gonna take a picture of it and think on it more.
Oh yeah. Well, it'll be up on YouTube in about 3 or 4 hours. But this is about the end of the episode. So thanks for everyone who stayed with us till the end here. If you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. I will be making videos as early and soon as I can. Hopefully, I feel like this one was really full of information, like good details, but it wasn't as pretty as I usually have my slides being. But if you had any comments or questions, please leave them in the comment section. I love to hear them, and I love to like kind of get engaged with my audience like that.